Chaos erupted in the love and hip-hop universe, when whispers turned into a bombshell claim that sent Rasheeda Frost spiraling into pure rage. Cameras weren't even supposed to be rolling that day, but when Jasmine Washington stepped forward with the audacious allegation that Kirk Frost had once again crossed the ultimate line, impregnating her, what unfolded felt more like a scandal straight out of a prime-time soap opera than reality TV. The air was thick with tension. Every eye darted between Jasmine's smirk and Rasheeda's frozen glare, as though the entire set knew an explosion was seconds away. The accusation didn't just hit like a rumor, it detonated like a grenade. Fans watching from home were left stunned, already flooding social media with disbelief, screenshots, and trying to figure out if this was just another messy stunt or the end of Atlanta's power couple for good. For Rasheeda, it wasn't simply another storyline or petty drama. This was humiliation laid bare in public. Her face, normally calm and composed, flushed with fury. People who had followed her long journey of forgiveness, her attempt to rebuild trust with Kirk after years of betrayal, could see it instantly. This wasn't just anger. This was a woman pushed past her breaking point. Jasmine's words echoed. You think he's loyal, but he's been sneaking around again. And this time, there's a baby involved. The set fell into silence so heavy it felt unreal, broken only by Rasheeda's sharp breath and Kirk's stumbling attempt to speak, his voice shaking under the weight of the accusation. What made it worse was the crowd forming around them. Young Jock shook his head in disbelief. Carly Red whispered, "This is about to get ugly," under her breath. And the producers scrambled to decide whether to cut the cameras or let the chaos roll. Fans online were already picking sides, dragging Kirk in the comments, calling Jasmine the ultimate homewrecker, and urging Rasheeda to finally walk away once and for all. The tension was electric, raw, and unforgettable. One thing was certain. Nothing would be the same after this moment. The studio lights seemed brighter than usual that day, though maybe it was just the heat of the moment. Rasheeda sat stiffly on the couch, her arms crossed so tightly across her chest that her knuckles turned pale. Her eyes locked on Jasmine with a fire that no one had seen in years. The air smelled of hairspray and nerves, the muffled whispers of crew members filling the silence as everyone braced for what came next. Kirk shifted uneasily in his seat, beads of sweat forming at his temples, while Jasmine leaned back with that smug smirk that always managed to twist the knife just a little deeper. "Don't act shocked," she said, her voice low but sharp enough to slice through the room. "You should know by now who you married." The words landed like venom. Rasheeda's lips pressed into a hard line, her chest rising and falling faster, and you could almost hear her heartbeat over the silence. Fans who had been following the Frost family drama from season to season already knew how heavy this moment was. Years of cheating scandals, secret children, and public humiliation had already scarred Rasheeda's marriage. And yet, here she was again, dragged back into the spotlight, forced to relive the betrayal. Cameras zoomed in closer, capturing every twitch of her jaw, every blink of her watery eyes. Producers in the back motioned frantically to keep filming, knowing this was the kind of television that kept viewers glued to their screens. Kirk finally opened his mouth, but his voice cracked under the weight of his own fear. "Jas, you need to stop lying. You always pulling this mess when we moving forward. Ain't nobody believe you." His attempt at defense was weak, trembling, almost rehearsed, and everyone in the room felt it. Rasheeda turned to him slowly, her eyes narrowing. "So you calling her a liar? You telling me right now, in front of everybody, that she making this up?" Her tone was cold, detached, the kind of voice that came not from surprise but from years of being worn down. She didn't even need to yell. Her calm fury was louder than a scream. Jasmine shrugged, tilting her head, her hand resting casually on her lap. "Call it what you want, but the truth always comes out. And when it does, don't say I didn't warn you." That was enough to set off murmurs across the set. Young Jock leaned over to Carly Red, whispering, "Man." Kirk about to fold like a lawn chair. Carly shook her head, eyes wide, whispering back, "This ain't just drama. This a whole breakdown waiting to happen." Offstage, the crew shifted nervously, unsure whether to intervene or let the cameras catch what was turning into one of the most explosive confrontations in love and hip-hop history. Rasheeda took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she uncrossed her arms. Her voice cracked for the first time, revealing the hurt behind her anger. "After everything, Kirk. After all the times you swore you'd change, you'd do better. You'd fight for this family. You sit here and let this girl say this in front of me. In front of the world." The audience watching later wouldn't just hear her words. They'd feel the weight of years of broken promises hanging between them. It was a moment so raw, fans would replay it over and over, analyzing every glance, every tear, every flicker of emotion. Kirk reached out a hand as if to touch her, but Rasheeda flinched away, her body stiffening. She wasn't ready to be calmed. Not this time. Don't, she snapped, her voice cutting through the heavy air. Don't you dare try to touch me right now? The rejection was loud, public, final, and Kirk pulled his hand back, like a child caught stealing cookies. Jasmine's smirk only widened, and she leaned forward, her eyes meeting Rasheeda's with unshaken boldness. See? Even you know deep down he's still the same man he's always been. The audience gasped. Fans online already firing off tweets and comments. Rasheeda deserves better. One wrote, Kirk ain't never gonna change, said another. Hashtags began trending. Hashtag justice for RASHEEDA. Hashtag Kirk exposed. Hashtag Jasmine drama. Within minutes, the internet was ablaze, dissecting every second of footage, every unspoken truth. In living rooms across the country, people shook their heads, some in sympathy for Rasheeda, others in disbelief at the audacity of Jasmine. The Frost family drama wasn't just television anymore, it was a cultural moment, the kind of messy scandal that got replayed on talk shows, gossip blogs, and fan forums. But back in that tense studio, Rasheeda's voice rose again, this time louder, firmer, unshaken by the chaos around her. You want to play games with my life? With my marriage? With my family? Her voice echoed, the microphone struggling to catch the sharp edges of her words. You think you can keep popping up with your lies, and I'm just supposed to take it. Nah, Jasmine. Not today. Not anymore. Her words weren't just directed at Jasmine, they were aimed at Kirk, at the producers, at anyone who thought she would sit quietly while her dignity was shredded in public again. This was a woman reclaiming her power, even in the midst of heartbreak. Jasmine, unfazed, crossed her legs slowly, deliberately, her confidence unwavering. Say what you want, Rasheeda, but you and I both know the truth. He'll never be the man you want him to be. Because he'll always be the man I know him to be. The sting of her words hit harder than any scream, and for a moment, Rasheeda just stared at her, jaw tight, fists clenched, silence stretching long and heavy. Kirk sat frozen, caught between two women, his face pale, his eyes darting nervously as though searching for an escape that didn't exist. And then it happened. Rasheeda stood, her heels clicking against the floor with authority. The energy shifted instantly. Everyone sat up straighter, holding their breath, knowing this wasn't just another argument. This was the start of something bigger, something explosive, something that would unravel in ways no one could predict. The cameras followed her every move, zooming in as her shadow stretched across the set. Jasmine's smirk faltered just slightly, but she quickly recovered, refusing to show weakness. Rasheeda looked down at her with a glare that could pierce steel. You may think you won today, she said quietly, her voice trembling with rage. But this is far from over. The crowd stirred, whispers rising again, and the producers exchanged frantic glances. They had struck gold, but they also knew this could spiral into something unmanageable. Still, they let it roll, because drama like this couldn't be staged, couldn't be faked, it was real, raw, and undeniable. As Rasheeda turned and stormed off set, cameras trailed her, capturing every tear threatening to spill, every step fueled by rage and betrayal. Fans would later replay that exit 1,000 times, dissecting her body language, analyzing her silence, speculating about what she'd do next. Behind her, Kirk sat hunched, his hands over his face, while Jasmine leaned back in her chair, satisfied, victorious for now. But the war was just beginning, and everyone watching knew it. In homes across the country, fans leaned closer to their screens, texting friends, tweeting reactions, unable to look away. It was the kind of scandal that rewrote storylines, divided friendships, and changed everything. And as the episode cut to commercial, the world was left gasping, hungry for the next chapter of the Frost family saga. The commercial break did nothing to cool the temperature. In the hallway, the hum of generators and the distant clatter of set carpenters filled the space where Rasheeda paced in tight circles, chewing the inside of her cheek, phone buzzing in her palm. A production assistant hovered near a rolling wardrobe rack and then pretended to be fascinated by a sequined blazer, too afraid to interrupt. Get me some water, Rasheeda said, and the assistant sprinted away. She leaned against the cinder block wall, eyes closed, willing herself not to cry. A crew camera followed at a respectful distance, its red tally light blinking like a heartbeat. Then the door swung open and Mona stepped through with a careful expression that read both business and concern. Talk to me, Mona said evenly, I'm not letting her drag me on my own show again, Rasheeda said, forcing a steady tone. If she lying, we shut it down. If she not, I need the truth on camera. All of it. No spin. Mona nodded once, brisk and practical. You want a paternity test storyline again? I want my dignity, Rasheeda said, and I want my husband to stop making me a fool. Before Mona could answer, Kelsey rushed down the hallway, hair still pinned from an earlier scene. Her phone blazing with notifications. Mom, it's everywhere already. She breathed. My DMs are crazy. They asking me if I'm gonna be a big sister again. People are tagging me in memes. Her face wobbled between anger and worry. I can't do this again. Rasheeda straightened, gathering her daughter close with one arm. You don't answer nobody. You don't let them bait you. She glanced toward the studio door as if the walls themselves were listening. This is between us, not the internet. Kelsey swallowed. You say that, but it always ends up being the internet. Footsteps. Young Jock and Carly appeared, cautious as visitors in a hospital ward. Jock lifted his hands. I ain't here to start nothing, he said softly. But Kirk in there looking like a man without a map. Jasmine ain't backing down. You gonna come back in and finish this? I'll finish what I started, Rasheeda said. But I don't walk into a fire without water. She tapped the phone screen with her thumb. If there's proof, we deal with it. If there's a lie, we set the record straight. Carly leaned in conspiratorially. Then you should see this. She held out her own phone. On the screen, an account devoted to love and hip-hop receipts had posted a grainy photo. Jasmine at a clinic waiting room, a cap tugged low, one hand covering her face. The timestamp from 3 weeks ago. The caption screamed, why was Jas here again? The comments were a swarm of guesses and accusations. There was also a short voice note icon in the next slide. Carly pressed play. A muffled whisper came through. Jasmine's tone, unmistakable. He said he'd handle it before it gets out. He said not to text him, just call. Another woman's voice, nervous and breathy. Girl, you know she'll leave him this time. A faint chuckle from Jasmine. Maybe that's the point. Rasheeda's jaw set like stone. Send that to me, she said. Now. Carly shared it with a few taps. The water arrived. Rasheeda took a sip, handed the bottle back, and lifted her chin. Let's go. When she stepped back onto the set, the murmur rose to a startled hush. The couch sat where she had left it, Jasmine lounging like a queen without a crown. Kirk clasping and unclasping his hands as if he hoped to warp time. The world narrowed to this room. Rasheeda crossed to her spot and sat with a measured calm that made the cruise. Shoulders relax and the cameras creep closer. You got something else you want to say? Jasmine asked. Too quickly. Rasheeda didn't answer her. She turned to Kirk. Look me in the eye. Tell me you did not touch this woman. Tell me you have not seen her, called her, texted her nothing since we put our life back together. Kirk swallowed. I ain't seen her like that. I ain't like that. Rasheeda's laugh was small and humorless. What is like that, Kirk? Because not like that got me a baby last time. A few crew members winced. Jock muttered, man, under his breath. Jasmine folded her arms. He's lying. He told me to stop texting. He told me to call from different numbers. He told me to be quiet until he handled it. Proof, Rasheeda said. You make a claim, you back it up. You have dates, calls, anything. Jasmine's eyes flickered. I'm not about to give this show everything. Y'all will twist it. Then you don't have it, Rasheeda said, pulling out her phone. Because I do? She tapped the screen, raised it to her mic, and played the voice note. The sound filled the set. He said he'd handle it before it gets out. He said not to text him, just call. And the friend's worried reply. Followed by Jasmine's laugh. Maybe that's the point. The room seemed to shrink. Jasmine's lips parted, the smirk slipping. You don't know who that is, she said quickly. People fake receipts all the time. Then let's get something that can't be faked, Rasheeda said. Turning to Mona. Call a mobile testing service. Now. He swabs. She swabs. If she even is Rasheeda stopped, the word catching in her throat. She would not say pregnant until it was a fact. We put an end to this on camera. Mona nodded once to a producer with a headset. The producer hustled away. Kirk finally found his voice. You ain't gotta do all that. This don't need to be on TV. This became TV when you did not walk away from a woman who wanted to break us. Rasheeda said quietly, you want me to trust you. Then you sit here and you swab. And you let every person who ever doubted me see that I fought for my marriage with the truth. The audience at home would later argue about the next moment. Whether Kirk's tiny nod meant relief or resignation. On the set, though it read as defeat, he rubbed his face. I'll do it, he said softly. I'll do the test. Then, almost pleading, to Jasmine, "If you lying, you better say it now. If I were lying, I wouldn't be here," Jasmine said, lifting her chin. A door at the back opened and a nurse in scrubs stepped in with a discreet tote. She had the no-nonsense air of someone used to celebrity theatrics. Mona briefed her in quick murmurs. The nurse nodded, unpacked sterile swabs, gloves, labels. The crew instinctively gave her a clear space. The moment had that strange, almost sacred, quiet you find in clinics and courtrooms. While they waited for forms, the floodgates opened online. In a corner, a social media manager whispered updates. Fans are shocked. Emotions ran high is trending. Half the comments saying walk away, half saying expose Jasmine. Some fans begged Rasheeda not to give Jasmine a storyline. Others demanded justice. The family was left divided as cousins and friends texted their allegiances. One relative posted a prayer hand emoji. Another posted a skull. A gospel singer who once performed at Frost events tweeted a Bible verse about deceit. A local DJ posted ATL, "Gotta stop playing with Rasheeda." It only added fuel. Then Yandi arrived. She'd been filming across town and drove in after seeing clips. She entered like a cool wind, hugged Rasheeda, squeezed her shoulders. "You breathing?" she asked softly. "Enough," Rasheeda said. Yandi looked at Kirk. The disappointment in her eyes did more damage than any shouting could. "We all groan," she said, "but grown means accountable." To Jasmine, Yandi's tone changed. A crisp professionalism. "If you're telling the truth, you won't mind facts. If you're not, you need to understand you're playing with a woman's home." Jasmine rolled her eyes. But her gaze skittered away for a second, and the camera caught it. The nurse asked Jasmine to follow her to a privacy screen. Jasmine hesitated, then went. She returned 2 minutes later, chin up, a cotton swab pressed to the inside of her cheek, just moments before. A sealed vial in the nurse's gloved hand. "Your turn," Jasmine said to Kirk. And the tone that once sounded smug now carried a tremor she probably hoped nobody heard. Kirk stood. The nurse swabbed him, labeled the vial. "We can rush preliminary results," the nurse said to Mona.com as a pilot. "They won't be conclusive without further testing if gestation is early. But we can give a probability window tonight." "Tonight is enough to clear smoke," Mona said, then glanced at Rasheeda. "We'll do it by the book." Kirk sat slowly. For a moment, silence held them all together like glass. Then a voice piped up from the far end of the set. "Carly, never one to let a pot cool." "So Jas," she said, "if it's not Kirk, who else could it be?" Jock elbowed her, but she continued, "Because you don't show up on this couch unless you betting big." Jasmine took a breath. She smiled, and the smile was cold. "There are things y'all don't know. I didn't come here to only blow up his life." She let the sentence hang, enjoying the ripple of shock. "Ask your friend," she said, looking straight at Yandi. "She knows how to keep secrets too." The set shuddered as if a heavy truck had rumbled by. Yandi's brows knit. "What are you talking about?" "You'll see," Jasmine said lightly. "He isn't the only one who made a promise off camera." "That's enough," Mona said. "We keep this centered. Don't start throwing names that don't belong to the story." "But they do belong," Jasmine said. Turning back to Rasheeda, "You think you've had all the betrayals you can swallow? You aren't even close." Rasheeda's expression did not flicker. If anything, she became more still, absorbing every word like a cliff absorbs the sea. "I have survived more than you can imagine," she said. "And I am still standing. Try your best." "I'm not moving." Mona called a brief reset. The nurse stepped out to process the swabs. A runner followed with paperwork. The cameras drifted to B-roll positions. That was when Kirk leaned toward Rasheeda, his voice low enough to feel intimate even through the microphones. "If this ain't mine," he said, "I'm begging you to let me fix what I broke before. I'll go to counseling twice a week. I'll hand you my phone. I'll change everything." "You were supposed to change everything the first time," she said. Eyes on the floor. He nodded, the gesture dull with shame. "I know." A new wave of chatter swept across social media as a gossip site posted exclusive texts allegedly from a burner number, saved as K. The texts were short and clinical. "Call only. No pics. Meet near the old studio." In one, a pin dropped near a late-night diner on Moreland. The comments split again. Some swore the font looked edited. Others claimed they recognized Kirk's writing style from years of screenshots. Someone uploaded a paparazzi photo from 3 nights earlier. A man in a hoodie slipping into the back of an SUV beside a woman with a beige coat and a cap. The license plate matched a rental often used by crew drivers. It wasn't proof. It was gasoline, Yandi scrolled, exhaled sharply. People are eating this alive. Let them eat, Rasheeda said. Truth still has to sit on their stomach. Jock tilted his head. That was cold, but it was poetry. A stagehand signaled that the nurse had returned. She stepped in with a slim folder and a medical comm that quieted even Carly. Preliminary analysis suggests a low probability of paternity for the declared individual when compared to the DNA collected, she said, reading from a form. However, due to early gestation estimates, she looked at Jasmine. We recommend a follow-up in several weeks for definitive results. Low probability, Rasheeda repeated slowly, watching Jasmine rather than the nurse. So right now, it's looking unlikely. Jasmine masked disappointment with annoyance. Preliminary, she snapped. Not final. Kirk sagged in his seat, hands pressed together. Eyes squeezed shut like a man who'd been underwater too long and just found air. Carly couldn't help herself. So if not Kirk, don't, Mona warned. But the door between worlds had already cracked. A camera operator caught a subtle look flash across Jasmine's face. Calculation overlaid with fear. Yandi saw it too. Who is it? She asked, her voice quiet. The question heavy enough to bend the conversation around it. Jasmine stood in one smooth motion as if measured steps could hold a collapsing story upright. I don't owe any of you my private life, she said. If he's not the father, I will handle what I need to handle. You owe me, Rasheeda replied, rising to meet her stance. You owe me an end to this siege you launched on my house. You dragged me back to war in front of the world. If you knew there was even a chance it wasn't him, you owed me the truth before cameras. Jasmine's eyes flashed. I owed you nothing. He owed you. And maybe exposing him is the only language he understands. Yandi stepped between them, palms up. We are not doing another season of women destroying each other while men collect apologies. We wait for the final results, and we stop bleeding each other dry for a storyline. Jock, almost to himself, murmured, Amen. The nurse asked Mona if she should arrange the follow-up. Mona nodded, lips tight. Yes, by the book, she repeated, then addressed the room. We don't have final answers tonight, but we have a direction. We'll document the follow-up. We'll give everybody a chance to say what they need to say without threatening or slandering. Then here's what I need to say, Rasheeda said, looking directly into camera one as if it were a single pair of eyes. I have fought for my marriage because I believe in family. I will not be a fool for anyone. If these results are final and they say what we think they say, I expect an apology from you, Jasmine, a public one. If they don't, I will confront whatever truth comes, and I won't hide. Either way, I will not be broken. For a second, even the lights seemed to hum in agreement. Jasmine lifted her chin. You'll get what you get, she said, and so will he. A subtle rustle at the back of the set turned heads. A delivery guy wearing a cap and a nervous smile handed a PA a small padded envelope marked with blinking stickers. Confidential. The PA whispered to Mona, who frowned at the label. An independent clinic across town. Inside, a flash drive and a note. You're filming. You're missing this. Mona hesitated, weighed the ethics, then passed it to legal. Legal scanned, shrugged once, and nodded for air. Mona handed the drive to the tech. And moments later, the big monitor flickered. A grainy parking lot feed danced in gray snow. A timestamp from 8 nights earlier. A figure who could be Jasmine, wrapped in a beige coat, stepping into the passenger side of a car. The driver turned slightly toward the security light. Not Kirk. The profile looked younger, beard fuller, a chain catching the glare as he leaned across the console. The two figures kissed briefly. Then the car door shut, and the SUV pulled away. The camera captured the license plate. Clearly, the room divided itself into exhale and alarm. Carly whispered, whose plate is that? Jock had already pulled his phone to search a public lookup site. He blinked hard. No way, he said. That's stop. Mona cut in. Sharp, we don't say names until we know. We verify before we burn someone's life down. Rasheeda stared at the screen, then at Jasmine. You could have ended this before it began. Don't act righteous with me, Jasmine said, voice tight. Maybe I wanted to see him squirm. Maybe I wanted you to feel what I felt. What you felt, Rasheeda repeated. The words quiet as a cold wind. Does not justify what you tried to do to me today. Somewhere, outside, a siren rose and fell. Inside, the set found stillness again, like the breath held before a verdict. Mona's voice softened. We'll schedule the follow-up test. We'll verify the plate and the footage. We will not feed rumors. We will tell the truth when we have the truth. Meanwhile, Yandi said, stepping close to Rasheeda. You go home with people who love you. You keep your phone on do not disturb. You breathe. Rasheeda nodded once, eyes bright but I'm done bleeding on camera for mistakes I didn't make, she said, more to herself than anyone else. She turned to Kirk. Your turn to carry the weight. You show me change by being silent in the face of provocation, loyal when nobody's watching, and honest without being asked. I am not doing this dance at my age. Kirk wiped at his face with the heel of his palm. Yes, he said, small. Speak like a man, Jock muttered. Yes, Kirk repeated, louder. I will do what it takes. Jasmine reached for her bag. Do what you want with your marriage, she said to Rasheeda, but don't forget who started the truth. Rasheeda didn't flinch. The truth started long before you walked in, she said. We're just finally finishing it. The nurse slipped out with the samples. The monitor went dark. Mona called it for the day. People stood slowly, as if rising from church pews after a hard sermon. The crew filed toward exit doors, their chatter low and thoughtful. On the internet, the storm only grew. But in the room, the air settled into a different weight. Aftermath, resolve, and the quiet promise that the story had stopped running away from its facts. Outside the studio, the sky had cooled to that bruised blue you get just after sunset. Streetlights blinked on, cars idled, a cluster of fans craned necks toward the doors. Security tightened the rope line. When Rasheeda finally stepped out, Kelsey fell into step beside her, their silhouettes tall and steady in the sodium glow. Cameras clicked, phones lifted, voices called her name. She gave no speeches, issued no barbs, only placed a hand against the small of her daughter's back and guided her toward the SUV. Kirk followed 2 paces behind, then 3, then 4, as if distance were an honest penance. Jasmine exited through a side door, cap back on, collar up. She slid into a car that wasn't the one on the footage. A new driver. New plan. She glanced once toward the main entrance, toward the clamor that had once been her audience, and for the first time that day, she looked unsure. Back inside, the last of the crew powered down the set. A forgotten cup of coffee cooled on a side table, lipstick on the rim, a faint ring on the lacquered wood. The red tally lights went dark. The stage, relieved of its burden, exhaled into silence. And somewhere across the city, a printer spit out a still of a license plate while a phone somewhere else buzzed with a message that read only, "We're going to need to talk." By the time dawn cracked over Atlanta, the story had already spiraled into something bigger than anyone on set could control. Blog headlines screamed across phone screens. Jasmine exposed. Mystery man footage leaks. And Rasheeda finally turns the tables. The shade rooms were flooded with slowed-down replays of the grainy parking lot video. Some users zooming in on the driver's chain, others comparing it side by side with old pictures of local rappers and producers. Fans debated fiercely in the comments, some insisting it was Kirk in disguise, others swearing the build and beard didn't match at all. What had started as a messy accusation now ballooned into a guessing game, a whodunit that turned the Frost family's pain into fuel for endless speculation. At the Frost home, Rasheeda sat at the kitchen island in a silk robe, nursing a cup of coffee that had gone cold. Kelsey scrolled through her phone, occasionally muttering wow under her breath, while Kirk hovered near the doorway, unsure if he was welcome to sit. "It's everywhere," Kelsey said finally, turning her screen toward her mother. Dozens of clips, tweets, memes, some painting Rasheeda as the long-suffering queen, others mocking Kirk with clown emojis, people already picking sides like it's a boxing match. Rasheeda's gaze didn't leave her coffee. Let them. Her voice was even, steady, but her eyes were rimmed red from a night without sleep. She finally turned to Kirk, her stare cold but controlled. "What you gonna do when the world don't believe you? Kirk, what you gonna do when even your silence sound guilty?" He rubbed the back of his neck, sighing. "I'm doing the test. I'm showing them what it is. That's all I can do." His words lacked conviction, sagging under years of broken vows. Before Rasheeda could reply, her phone buzzed with an incoming call. "Yandy sis, you need to see this," Yandy said the moment Rasheeda answered, her voice clipped. "Somebody sent the uncut version of that parking lot video to my email. The driver. He gets out, clear as day at the end. And it's not Kirk." Rasheeda's heart thudded. "Who is it?" Yandy hesitated. "I think it's someone tied to production. That's why I'm telling you off camera first." The words landed like a fresh explosion. If true, it meant Jasmine's entire spectacle wasn't just a scandal, it was sabotage. And if a producer was involved, It explained how conveniently the footage appeared in the middle of filming. So this wasn't about truth, Rasheeda muttered, gripping the phone tighter. This was about airtime. Meanwhile, Jasmine was in her own apartment across town, pacing barefoot across the hardwood, her phone lighting up nonstop. Her best friend sat on the couch, scrolling through comments. "Girl, they dragging you," she said bluntly. "Half the people saying you desperate for clout, the other half saying you lying about who the daddy is. They not even talking about Kirk, no more they talking about who that man in the SUV is." Jasmine's jaw tightened. Good, let them talk. Attention is currency. As long as they keep my name in their mouths, I'm winning. Her friend raised a brow. Even if the truth come out and it ain't Kirk. Especially then, Jasmine shot back. Because no matter what, I'll still be the one they can't stop watching. Back at the Frost house, Rasheeda ended the call with Yandi and looked at Kirk for a long, hard moment. If this really is bigger than USCF, somebody playing games with my family's name for ratings, I swear. Kirk, I will burn this whole machine down before I let them destroy me again. Kirk, for once, didn't argue. He only nodded. A man caught between relief that the spotlight might shift and terror that it might shine somewhere darker. The day was just beginning. But the saga was far from over. Atlanta buzzed with rumors, the internet frothed with speculation, and everyone from fans to friends to enemies was waiting for the next move in a drama that had already rewritten its own rules. Phones buzzed like alarm clocks all across Atlanta as the story picked up even more steam. By midday, the Frost household felt less like a home and more like a newsroom. Every device lit up with notifications, mentions, and messages from people who claimed to know the truth. Rasheeda sat at her vanity mirror, applying light makeup but staring through her reflection as if her thoughts were heavier than her hands. Kelsey hovered in the doorway, arms folded, a mix of anger and worry stitched into her face. "Mama, you don't gotta keep being strong for everybody," she said softly. "It's okay to be mad. It's okay to let it out." Rasheeda shook her head, brushing powder across her cheek. "I already let it out. They seen me cry on camera enough. They seen me break enough. They not gon' see me broken this time." Her voice was steady, but the tremor in her hand betrayed her. "I'm not playing into no more stereotypes about the woman scorned. They gon' see a woman standing." Downstairs, Kirk sat slouched on the couch, scrolling through Twitter threads that painted him as everything from a manipulator to a tragic fool. He could hardly look up when young Jock barged through the front door without knocking, trailed by Carly Red, both of them buzzing with the kind of gossip that couldn't wait for a call. "Bro," Jock said, waving his phone, "they saying the dude in that SUV is somebody on our own crew, like behind-the-scenes crew." Carly, always ready to fan the flames, added, "And not just any crew, somebody who'd been working with Jasmine on the low. You hear me? People saying it's been him this whole time, which means she came for Kirk just to cover her tracks." Kirk rubbed his temples. "Man, why everybody so quick to believe whatever pops up online? I told you, I ain't seen her. I ain't touched her. But now my name's stuck to this like glue." Rasheeda came down the stairs slowly, her heels clicking against each step, her presence commanding silence even before she spoke. "Because your name always been stuck to this mess, Kirk. That's the problem. People don't separate lies from truth when you gave them enough truth to make every lie believable." She walked past him, grabbed a bottle of water from the counter, and faced the room. "So now it's on us to clean it up. If production set this up, if Jasmine playing games, we gon' expose it." Carly grinned, always one step ahead. "Then you've gone, love this. Somebody just sent me clearer stills of that SUV footage. License plate traced to a rental under the name of a junior producer. Guess who was seen last week taking Jasmine out for drinks?" She held out her phone like a magic trick. The picture showed Jasmine at a dimly lit bar, leaning close to a man with cropped hair and the same chain from the parking lot video. Kelsey gasped. Jock slapped his knee. "Man, this a whole plot twist." But Rasheeda didn't smile, didn't even flinch. "That means my family was used," she said, her voice low and tight. "This wasn't even about Kirk, it was about building her name off my pain. Nah, I'm not letting it go like that." Later that evening, cameras rolled again, this time in a neutral set made to look like a lounge. Mona had insisted on getting everyone back in the same room. Jasmine walked in first, chin high, outfit sharp enough to slice through the tension. Rasheeda entered next.com, but with an intensity that made everyone sit up straighter. Kirk followed, silent, shadowed by his own reputation. Jock, Carly, and Yandi took their seats nearby, ready for whatever fireworks might fly. "Jasmine," Mona began, her tone controlled. We need to address the footage, the stills, and the claims circulating online. Viewers deserve clarity. Was that you in the SUV with a member of production? Jasmine's smirk flickered for the first time. I'm not about to sit here and let y'all spin this like I'm the villain. I came here to tell the truth about Kirk, and all of a sudden y'all trying to redirect the truth. Rasheeda cut in, her eyes locked on her rival. The truth is, you let everybody believe my husband was guilty while you out here playing house with a crew member. You dragged me, my daughter, my family, knowing damn well you had another man in your passenger seat. Gasps rippled across the set. Jasmine opened her mouth, but Rasheeda didn't let her get the chance. You want fame so bad you willing to destroy everything around you for it. But what you don't realize is every time you come for me, you only make me stronger. Yandi leaned forward. The fans are already turning. Jasmine, they calling this a setup. They saying you crying wolf again. If this footage is real and from what I've seen, it looks Rilu might have just ended your own credibility. For once, Jasmine's confidence cracked. Her hands fidgeted in her lap, her eyes darting to Mona, then back to Rasheeda. This wasn't supposed to blow up like this, she said softly, almost to herself. Rasheeda seized the moment. No, it wasn't supposed to blow up at all, but you made sure it did, because chaos is your currency. Well, baby, the bill just came due. The room buzzed with murmurs, cameras zoomed in on Jasmine's expression, and Twitter lit up like fireworks as fans typed furiously. Jasmine caught red-handed. Rasheeda finally wins one. This is the plot twist of the season. And as the night pressed on, the family that had once been torn apart by scandal began, for the first time in years, to feel the tide shift in their favor, if the war was far from over. The lounge lights buzzed faintly, casting long shadows across the polished floor. Everyone had gone quiet after Rasheeda's last words, but the tension sat so heavy it was almost alive. Jasmine shifted in her seat, trying to hold on to her bravado, but her foot tapped restlessly against the carpet, betraying her nerves. Mona folded her arms, eyes darting between the women like a referee who knew the fight wasn't close to over. Carly, unable to resist stirring, leaned forward with her phone. Baby, the receipts don't lie. Y'all wanna see what the blog's pulling up right now? She waved the screen dramatically. Here's Miss Jasmine, 3 nights ago, laughing it up at Cascade with the same man from that SUV, chain shining, hand on her waist like they'd been locked in for months. The photo wasn't crystal clear, but it was enough. Jock whistled low, shaking his head. That ain't a good look. You can't be screaming Kirk's name when you cozying up like that with a whole other dude. Jasmine snapped back instantly. So what if I was out? So what if somebody rolled with me? That don't erase the fact that Kirk been shady his whole marriage, but it erases your credibility, Yandi said sharply. You came in here pointing fingers, throwing grenades, and now we seeing maybe you just wanted a storyline. You messing with producers, using your own drama to climb fans see right through that. The camera zoomed in on Rasheeda. She sat perfectly still, her nails tapping lightly against her thigh. Her eyes locked on Jasmine with a focus that made even the crew uneasy. Finally, she spoke. You thought you had me. You thought you could drag me down again, make me the fool, but I'm still standing. And now everybody sees who you really are. You didn't just come for my marriage, you came for my life, my peace, my family. And for what? 15 minutes. Jasmine's smirk was gone now, replaced with a defensive edge. Don't act like you some innocent victim, Rasheeda. You've been playing the perfect wife role while covering up Kirk's dirt for years. I just brought the truth to light. Kirk finally lifted his head, his voice tight. The truth, or your version of it. You tried to use me, Jasmine, and you almost broke my family again. But it ain't gonna work this time. The lounge filled with overlapping shouts, Carly egging them on. Jock muttering, man, this crazy Yandi trying to bring order, but the cameras stayed rolling, catching every raw second. Off to the side, Mona scribbled notes furiously, already planning how this footage would change the season. Then, just when it seemed the confrontation had reached its peak, a producer rushed onto the set, holding a tablet. You need to see this, he whispered to Mona, but his urgency carried across the room. The screen showed another clip, leaked online just minutes earlier. It was a video of Jasmine and the junior producer in the SUV, this time with audio. Jasmine's voice rang out clearly. As long as they keep dragging Kirk, I get the spotlight. That's how this works. The room erupted. Gasps, shouts, accusations. It was chaos. Jock nearly fell out of his chair, laughing in disbelief, while Carly screamed, "Oh, you done exposed yourself, girl." Yandi covered her face with one hand, shaking her head. The betrayal wasn't just to Rasheeda and Kirk, it was to the whole show. The whole family that had given Jasmine a platform. Rasheeda stood slowly, her voice cutting through the noise. You wanted to play games with my life? You just lost the biggest one. And I promise you this time, I'm not forgiving, I'm not forgetting, and I'm not keeping quiet. The cameras lingered on Jasmine's face as she tried to recover. But the damage was irreversible. Fans online were already tearing her apart. Hashtags flipping overnight. Hashtag Jasmine exposed. Hashtag RASHEEDA wins. Hashtag Kirk vindicated. For the first time in years, Rasheeda wasn't the one being humiliated. She was the one holding the power. And though the fight wasn't over, everyone in that room knew the tides had shifted permanently. What came next would decide not just reputations, but futures. The room was still ringing with echoes of Jasmine's recorded voice, the words replaying in everyone's minds like a siren they couldn't turn off. As long as they keep dragging Kirk, I get the spotlight. That's how this works. It wasn't just a slip, it was a confession, and the entire cast felt the weight of it. Rasheeda stood tall in the middle of the lounge, arms folded, her presence commanding even as her eyes glimmered with the hurt of years' worth of betrayals. She didn't need to scream. Her silence, her steady breathing, was more powerful than any outburst. Jasmine, on the other hand, looked trapped. Her lips parted as though she wanted to defend herself, but no words came. Her smirk had completely dissolved, replaced by a crack in her confidence. The camera caught every twitch, every dart of her eyes. As if the world was finally seeing the real Jasmine, not the calculated instigator, not the scandal magnet, but a woman who had pushed too far and was now staring down the collapse of her own credibility. Carly's laugh broke the silence, sharp and cutting. Girl, you played yourself. You thought you had everybody fooled, but baby, the truth came out your own mouth. You just gave Rasheeda the win of the decade. Jock leaned back, shaking his head, unable to stop grinning at the chaos. Man, you can't make this up. She dug her own grave, on camera, with receipts. He turned to Kirk, smirking. You better thank your lucky stars for once, bro, 'cause this ain't looking like your mess no more. Kirk, however, wasn't celebrating. He sat with his hands clasped, shoulders heavy, because he knew this wasn't just about Jasmine being exposed. This was about the years he had handed her ammunition. The years he had given her the platform to even make these kinds of claims. He glanced at Rasheeda, who still hadn't looked at him once since the recording played. She may be exposed, he said softly, but that don't erase what I put you through. Rasheeda's eyes flicked to him for the briefest moment. There was no softness there, no sympathy, just acknowledgement of his words. Then she turned back to Jasmine. You thought you were destroying me, but all you did was expose yourself. And now, I want you to sit there and feel what it's like to be on the other side of humiliation. You dragged me through the mud for years, made me a storyline, made me a punchline. Now it's your turn. Jasmine finally snapped, slamming her hand on the armrest. You think this one little video changes everything? You think fans gone forget what Kirk did before? They not gone crown you some saint 'cause I slipped up. He still cheated on you, he still embarrassed you, and you still took him back. You ain't no queen, you, just a fool who don't know when to walk away. The words cut, but Rasheeda didn't flinch. Instead, she walked slowly toward Jasmine, heels clicking against the floor. The cameras zoomed in, hungry for the confrontation. Rasheeda stopped just inches from her, leaning down so that her voice was low but sharp enough for every mic in the room to catch. You're right, he did cheat. He did embarrass me, and I did take him back. But I own my choices. I live with them. And you know what? I'm still standing. I'm still building. I'm still respected. You just admitted you built your whole life on lies. And when the dust settles, you gon' be nothing but another headline people laugh at for a day before they move on. Meanwhile, I'm still here. The room erupted, cast members gasping, crew members exchanging wide-eyed looks, social media already flooding with quotes clipped from the live feed. I own my choices, and I'm still here became an instant meme, fans dubbing it the line of the season. Twitter exploded with comments like, that's the Rasheeda we've been waiting for. And she ate Jasmine up without even raising her voice. Hashtags hashtag still standing and hashtag Queen RASHEEDA began trending within minutes. Jasmine leaned back, her face tight, struggling to find a counterattack. She finally sneered. You can play strong all you want, but deep down you know he's never gonna change. You'll always be looking over your shoulder, wondering if the next scandal's around the corner. This time, Rasheeda didn't respond. Instead, she turned to Mona. I'm done here. I said what I needed to say, the rest. The truth will come out when those tests are final. I'm not wasting another breath on lies. She walked out of the lounge, head held high, Kelsey rushing to follow her. The cameras trailed her exit, catching every stride, every glint of resolve in her expression. It was the kind of exit that would replay endlessly on social media, the kind fans would call iconic. As soon as the door shut behind her, Jasmine broke. "This is all a setup," she barked, standing to her feet. "Y'all edited that video. Y'all twisting everything to protect Kirk and Rasheeda 'cause they the golden couple of the show. This whole thing rigged." Her voice cracked, betraying her panic. Mona finally stepped in, her tone cold and authoritative. "Nobody rigged anything. Jasmine, you said what you said. On camera. With your own voice. The only person who destroyed you tonight was you." The crew began packing up. The scene officially over, but the drama had only just begun. Outside the studio, paparazzi swarmed. Flashes popping as Rasheeda and Kelsey slid into a black SUV. Questions were shouted. Microphones shoved toward the window. "Rasheeda, are you leaving Kirk? Do you believe Jasmine's really pregnant? What do you think of the leaked audio?" Rasheeda didn't answer a single one, her face calm, unreadable. The picture of composure. Meanwhile, Jasmine tried sneaking out the back entrance, but even there, cameras caught her covering her face with her hand. The video was already viral. By the time she made it to her car, fans were commenting in real time, "Not Jasmine running like a thief in the night." This storyline backfired so bad, she thought she had leverage, but Rasheeda ended her whole career in 2 sentences. Back at home, Rasheeda finally exhaled, collapsing into her bed. Kelsey sat beside her, scrolling through reactions. "Mama, they love you tonight. They calling you the queen. They saying you snatched your crown back." Rasheeda managed a small smile, though her eyes were tired. "I didn't do it for them. I did it for me. For us. But if they see the truth too, then maybe something good came out of all this." Downstairs, Kirk sat alone in the dark living room, the glow of his phone lighting his weary face. He read comments dragging him, forgiving him, questioning him. It was a storm he knew he couldn't escape. He dialed a number, hesitated, then ended the call before it rang. He buried his face in his hands, whispering, "Please, God, let this be the last time." But Atlanta wasn't quiet. The city buzzed with whispers, the clubs alive with talk of the scandal, radio hosts laughing through the morning shows, callers debating whether Rasheeda should finally walk away for good. The Frost family drama had once again become the heartbeat of gossip, and the streets were hungry for the next twist. And in a small apartment across town, Jasmine stared at her phone, scrolling through comments that shredded her reputation. She threw it down on the couch, her eyes blazing with a mix of fury and fear. "They not about to bury me," she muttered to herself. "If they wanna play, I'll play dirtier." She opened her laptop, her fingers flying across the keys as she typed out a message to a gossip blogger. "I got more receipts. And this time, it ain't just about Kirk. It's about all of them. Let's talk." The night deepened over Atlanta, but the city didn't sleep. Club DJs were spinning remixes that sampled Rasheeda's line, "I own my choices. And I'm still here," while gossip blogs were running back-to-back live streams dissecting every second of the leaked audio. The Frost family drama had transcended the show, had become a cultural event, the kind that rappers referenced in lyrics, the kind that got debated on morning radio alongside politics and sports. Inside the Frost home, Rasheeda sat at the kitchen table with Yandy and Kelsey. The glow of their phones lit the room more than the ceiling light did. Every refresh brought new memes, new hashtags, new think pieces about loyalty and betrayal. Rasheeda scrolled, half amused, half exhausted. "Look at this," she said, showing Yandy a meme that paired Jasmine's panicked face with the caption, "When your plan backfires on live TV." Yandy chuckled, shaking her head. "You broke the internet tonight, sis. They not even talking about Kirk no more. It's all Jasmine, Jasmine, Jasmine. She's trending for the wrong reasons." Kelsey's voice cracked slightly as she chimed in. "Yeah, but I don't trust her. She not the type to just disappear after taking an L. She gon' try to flip it. I can feel it." And Kelsey was right. Across town, Jasmine sat in front of her laptop, her face illuminated by the screen as she plotted her next move. Her phone buzzed constantly, but she ignored most messages except the one from a well-known gossip blogger with over 2 million followers. "Heard you got something big? Call me." Jasmine smirked, her fingers tapping quickly in reply. "Bigger than you think. This ain't just about Kirk anymore. They all dirty." The blogger called instantly, and Jasmine answered with a sly, almost triumphant tone. "I've been painted as the villain, but what if I told you the real story is way deeper than me and Kirk? What if I told you Rasheeda isn't as innocent as she plays? and there are people behind the scenes covering up things you wouldn't believe. The blogger leaned forward in his chair on the other end, licking his lips at the promise of clicks and clout. You give me something solid, and I'll make sure the world hears your side. Back at the Frost home, Kirk finally entered the kitchen, his shoulders heavy, his voice low. We need to talk, he said, looking at Rasheeda. I know Jasmine's getting desperate, and she's gone try to drag us through the mud again, but whatever comes out next, I need you to know I'm not hiding nothing anymore. Rasheeda studied him, her eyes cold but steady. You've been saying that for years, Kirk. I don't need promises, I need proof. If Jasmine tries to pull more receipts, you better hope they fake, 'cause I'm not standing next to you if they real. Kirk nodded, swallowing hard, knowing the ground beneath him was thinner than ever. Meanwhile, Mona sat in her office, flipping through printouts of leaked footage, blog posts, and fan reactions. Her assistant hovered nervously. What do we do if Jasmine keeps pushing this? Mona tapped her pen against the desk. We let her. Every villain makes their own grave eventually, but I want eyes on her. If she drops more so-called receipts, we need to know before it hits the blogs. She leaned back, smirking faintly. And trust me, when Rasheeda finally delivers the knockout blow, it's gone be the highest-rated moment in love and hip-hop history. The following morning, the internet woke up to another shock. Jasmine had released screenshots of text conversations, allegedly between Rasheeda and another man. The messages were blurry, filled with vague phrases like "meet me after the studio and don't tell Kirk." Within minutes, the blogs ran with it, headlines screaming, "Is Rasheeda cheating too?" The Frost home erupted into chaos. Kelsey burst into her mother's room, phone in hand. "Mama, look at this mess," she cried, shoving the screen toward Rasheeda. "She trying to flip it on you now." Rasheeda's eyes scanned the screenshots, her jaw tightening. "Fake all of it. The grammar ain't even mine. I don't text like this." She tossed the phone aside, standing up with a fire in her eyes. "She really thinks she can drag me down with fabricated receipts. Oh no, baby, she just declared war." Kirk rushed in, panic etched across his face. "Rasheeda, don't let this get to you. People know it's fake, do they?" Rasheeda shot back. "You think fans care about what's real? They see a screenshot, they believe it. That's how Jasmine survived this long." The family huddled together as Yandi arrived again, her phone buzzing with notifications. "Sis, you gotta move fast," Yandi urged. "If you let her control the narrative, she wins even with lies. You need to clap back with receipts of your own. Show the world who she really is." Rasheeda's lips curled into the faintest of smirks. "Oh, I got receipts. I just never wanted to use M. But if she wants smoke, I'll burn her whole playhouse down." That evening, Rasheeda went live on Instagram. The viewer count skyrocketed instantly, tens of thousands tuning in within seconds. She sat in her living room, composed and flawless, her phone propped on a tripod. "Let's talk," she began, her tone calm but commanding. "Y'all seen Jasmine's little screenshots today? Cute, right? Only problem is they fake. And since she wants to play this game, let me show y'all something real." She held up her own phone and began scrolling through years of messages, exposing Jasmine's desperate attempts to contact Kirk long after their affair was supposed to be over. Messages where Jasmine begged for money, begged for attention, even threatened to go public if he didn't respond. "See this," Rasheeda said, zooming in. "This is what a real message looks like. Straight from her number, verified. And this ain't from years ago, this is from just a few months back, when she was still trying to insert herself into our lives." Fans flooded the comments. "Receipts don't lie. Jasmine, done for real this time. Rasheeda handled this like a boss." The live was clipped and reposted across every platform within minutes, further burying Jasmine under a mountain of backlash. Across town, Jasmine watched live on her cracked iPhone screen, her hands trembling with rage. She threw the phone onto the couch, screaming into the empty room. "This ain't over. She thinks she can humiliate me. I'll make sure the whole world sees the truth, even if I gotta burn everything down with me." She picked up her laptop again, drafting a message to the blogger. "I got one more bomb to drop, bigger than all of this. Ready?" And just like that, the war escalated once more. The battle wasn't just about Kirk anymore. It was about reputations, survival, and who would be crowned the last one standing in a fight that had bled far beyond television and into real lives. And there you have it, the drama that has taken over Atlanta, flipped the love and hip-hop world upside down, and left fans glued to their screens, hungry for more. Rasheeda, standing tall, finally reclaiming her voice and her power, after years of being dragged into scandal. Kirk Frost, once again exposed to the harsh glare of the spotlight. caught between redemption and destruction, fighting to prove he's not the man everyone thinks he still is. And Jasmine Washington, once smug, once untouchable, now unraveling in real time, her own words and her own games blowing up in her face. But here's the question the streets are asking tonight. Is this truly the end of Jasmine's reign of chaos? Or is it just the calm before another storm? Because if history tells us anything, it's that Jasmine doesn't back down quietly. She's already plotting her next move. Already threatening to drop more so-called receipts. Already sending messages to bloggers, desperate to stay in the conversation. Will her final bombshell actually destroy the Frost family once and for all? Or will it backfire the way her last attempt did? And what about Rasheeda? We saw her like never before, poised, powerful, refusing to let anyone write her narrative for her. Fans are calling her the Queen of Atlanta all over again, saying she delivered one of the most iconic clapbacks in reality TV history. But will she finally close the door on Kirk for good? Will this be the scandal that pushes her to walk away, rebuild, and rise higher than ever? Or will she once again fight for her marriage, proving that loyalty and resilience mean more than rumors and lies? Kirk himself sits in the middle of this storm, a man haunted by his past mistakes, desperate for one more chance. But can a man who burned trust so many times ever truly change? Can he convince Rasheeda and the world that this time is different? Or is he destined to be remembered as the man who lost everything? Not because of Jasmine's schemes, but because of his own history. And don't forget the streets, the fans, the family, the cast members who all have something to say. Yandy, trying to keep peace. Carly stirring the pot, jaw-cracking jokes while still dropping the truth. Everyone has their own angle, their own opinion, their own loyalty. The family is divided, the fans are divided, and the future of the Frost household hangs in the balance. Now it's your turn. What do you think is going to happen next? Will Jasmine actually come back stronger? Or has she finally burned her last bridge? Will Rasheeda keep her crown as the queen who stood her ground? Or will another twist knock her off her throne? And most importantly, should Rasheeda finally walk away from Kirk once and for all? Or give him one last chance to prove himself? I want you to drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Don't hold back. Are you Team Rasheeda, Team Jasmine, or do you think Kirk somehow deserves redemption? Let your voice be heard, because this is a story that has everybody talking, and your opinion matters just as much as the next person's. And if you loved this deep dive into the chaos, the betrayal, the heartbreak, and the resilience of the love and hip-hop world, make sure you hit that like button right now. Smash that subscribe button so you don't miss the next chapter, because trust me, there will be one. And turn on those notifications, because when the next twist drops, you'll want to be the first to know. Share this video with your friends, your family, your group chats, your timeline, because everybody is talking about Rasheeda, Kirk, and Jasmine. And this is the kind of drama you don't want anyone to miss. Let's get this video trending. Let's get the conversation bigger than ever. And let's make sure the world knows we are here for every messy, shocking, unbelievable twist. Fans are shocked. Emotions are running high. The family is divided. And the truth is still unraveling. One thing's for sure, this isn't the end. It's only the beginning of a story that's bound to explode in ways none of us can predict. And when it does, you know exactly where to come for the full breakdown, the inside scoop, and the raw truth the way you like it, messy and unforgettable. So go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, and keep your eyes glued to the channel. Because in Atlanta, in this family, in this saga, anything can happen, and the streets will never be the same again.